Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Reginal Drummer, the Peopleologist, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of We Are Ready. For everybody that's looking at us over on our Facebook, I hope you can come over here to Square Mile Media Atlanta and like, share, be prepared to comment, and subscribe over here to our channel. We got a lot of great information. A lot of great information. We got a lot of archive shows. That we have, and we definitely love for you to have your support. Uh, Also, hit that notification button so that you'll know when we have shows like Good News, We Are Ready, Expose, or any other things. One of the things that we do focus on over here is staying ready, staying ready. If we are ready, we don't have to get ready. If you don't have to get ready, you don't have to be in a position where you're compromised and you have to take whatever you've given. We focus on things like survival. What are you going to do? Do you have a game plan, an end game? If there's such thing as a pandemic, a pandemonium, or a natural disaster, or something like that, what are you going to do? How are you going to be able to help your family, your community, and your surroundings? So we focus on a lot of things like that. We encourage everyone to stay ready at all times, prepare yourself, continue to pray, fast, meditate, and put yourself in a position so that you'll be ready for whatever comes up. Now, we talk about survival, and that's one critical thing. We also talk about things that are critical for your community. And one of those things is the upcoming election. We'll just go into this real quick. For everybody that saw the debate here in Georgia, uh, it's not unlike others that are going on around the country, but we encourage people right now. November the 8th is voting day, but you can vote early between October the 17th and November the 4th. You can vote early. And you say, well, drummer, why do you keep telling us this if we're to, uh, we know a little bit about this, but it can be critical. A lot of people, believe it or not, don't know where their voting spaces are. If you heard us the other day, we were talking about going into a barber shop and finding out that four or five people were not registered and their voting places had changed. This is information that can be critical, especially now when you look at the Senate position that's open here in Georgia. That's a critical position. That's a critical position. For the next 6 years, somebody going to be making a decision for you. They'll decide on who's going to be the next Supreme Court justice. If you look at here in Georgia, the 14 congressional seats that are up, those are your people that will eventually make up your electoral college. Okay, so and then we get down to the governor, lieutenant governor, your state and house representatives, and all those people, the judges, the members that's on the ballot. So we encourage everyone to go to the Secretary of State app. Check your voting status. Check your voting status. You do not want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, be busted, disgusted, and feeling bad because you weren't ready. You weren't ready. And check with your friends, family members to make sure that they are ready. That they are ready. There's a lot of critical things on the line. Your candidate's going to be talking about abortion rights. They're going to be talking about gender rights. They're going to be talking about immigration rights. They're going to be talking about educational rights. All those things are very, very critical. So we just have to put that out just to let you know. But everybody that's joining us, please, please, please come on over, like, share, and subscribe. But tonight, tonight our show is about education, especially when it comes down to young people. The next generation of people, will they be ready? The next generation of young people, will they be ready? Will they have the tools that are necessary to put them in place? Will they have the tools that are necessary to keep them ahead of the game? If you look at the world, that's the stage that our young people will be competing on. So tonight, we'll be focusing on STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. Science, technology, engineering, and math. And these are critical pieces that will determine the future of our next generation of young people. I'm joined tonight by a brother. I'm gonna bring him into the fold. He'll be. His name is Mr. Dwight uh, Calhoun, and he's a part of a very interesting program and curriculum that is designed to help young people be a part of that. That's the future: science, technology, engineering, and math. Those are critical pieces. Mr. Dwight Calhoun, how you doing this evening, my brother?
Hey, I'm doing good, brother. Just thank you for inviting me on. Give me an opportunity to speak to your audience.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Over here we give you opportunity to share some things, especially now. It's critical that
Yes,
we put some things out that can help us because it's not only about me or you, it's about the future, the generation that's
yeah,
going to come behind us.
sure is.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself. What kind of got you motivated in this arena?
Well, I've been working with children pretty much for 35 years, and so that's kind of my passion. First of all, secondly, on this level in which I'm trying to move more youth into the areas of STEM and entrepreneurship. So in my program, I have two phases of the program, and one emphasis is on entrepreneurship. The other emphasis is on science, technology, engineering, and math. So part of my curriculum, I pretty much combine the two because I see entrepreneurship as a system. I don't see it as it's economics, but how do we create a system so our children are able to understand how money and currency work on the micro level and also on the global level. That's what I do.
Ah, yes, yes, that's powerful, and it's good to have you focusing on that because for the future, we see around the world globally, in order for America to compete,
Absolutely.
but especially for African American children to compete, it's going to take
Yeah,
some focus in those four areas.
it is. It is. It is. You know, we talk about closing the gap, the health and the educational disparity gap. And this part of the program, this is one reason why I want to close that gap. Uh, of course, for those they have nots, but of course, but it can be useful to any child or in any arena. Just expanding our concept of how those things work. How do we use them on a day to day basis? And so many times we've never been taught how. We've been taught who, what, why, when, where. But it's very rare. In many cases, we are taught how economics work. How does Wall Street work? How does all currency flow from one point A to point Z? And those are some of the things that I dive in. And people are saying, well, what's so special about your program that makes your program different is that I began their formal training at 3 years old.
Hmm.
And then from 3 to 8, they learn the first phase or the first tier of the program. At age 9, they learn the second tier of the program. And at age 13 on up, they should be able to run and operate their own business. So those are, a couple of tiers that I work on. So I didn't want to develop a program where it's, hey, you kids got it in preschool, either you got it, we done with you, good luck. I felt that we had to, build on, create building blocks and understanding entrepreneurship and STEM. So that's what I've done.
Okay. One of the questions, and you probably said it a little bit earlier, but what is STEM? We see the acronym. Could you break that down and just tell us, you
Yeah.
know, the importance?
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, first of all, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, there's so many opportunities in the area of STEM. And STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Statistics have shown we do not have enough trained people to fill those occupations in the future. So my program is not only just to educate, but how do we fill those vast number of jobs and those opportunities are sitting there waiting for people to be able to step right into them. So once again, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. But like I said, I add the entrepreneurship to it because STEM and entrepreneurships, those are two areas that most people without, we're never educated on how those processes work. So
Hmm. Now, when you say the entrepreneur side,
yeah.
what does that do? Prepare them to start or run or create their own business empires, or what?
That's one spectrum of it. The other spectrum is even if you are a manager, even if you are a supervisor, even if you are an employee, there are certain theories and certain concepts that you should know. So, therefore, if you're working for a franchise or a business person, you will be able to understand what they're going through because people see you making money. They don't know, well, if they knew that you had to invest part of the money back into the business, there's a payroll, there's products that you have to purchase. Now they understand the concept. They just don't see this big dollar sign on you and not understanding that you don't have personal debts and personal responsibilities that have to be taken care of first. And so it's about educating people along the whole spectrum.
Oh, okay. And when how do you sign up to be a part of your STEM program?
Well, right now I'm doing some after school programs, and let me say this, brother Reginald, I'm not trying to hide myself. Most people say, "Well, go to my call." All you have to do is call me, and I would like to come out and do a workshop seminar on the program before I enroll your community, your children, your school, your after school program, your private school, your homeschool child in the program because it's such a new concept. You would actually have to sit there and understand how it works and what are the points. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So they could just call me. I'm not big enough. I'm on the micro level. They could just call me.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing. And I know that I know you said you start at as early as 3 years old, um, and getting them indoctrinated, especially at an early age.
Yes.
The earlier you can get our young people into a particular curriculum or program,
Mhm.
it betters their chances of going into those four main
Absolutely.
areas, science, technology,
Absolutely.
engineering, and math. I know a lot of times we don't have the mentorship or
Right.
the support at an early age.
Yes. Yes.
And, kids start to, when they get probably as early as the fifth grade, they start to get, kind of pigeonholed into things where
Yes.
they say, I
Exactly.
don't like math. I don't like science.
That's the
I don't
problem.
like engineering. I don't like
That's the problem.
technology. Oh,
That's
okay.
the That's the problem. And for every problem, I try to create a solution. And when you
Okay.
mention that, that's kind of like the hallmark of my program is that if you teach a child at 3, 4, 5 years old, formal how economics and how STEM work, uh, the main key word that I use is we get rid of the phobia. It's
Mm,
not that we're not smart enough. It's that we have this fear factor in our mind. We hear this big word, electrical engineer. I don't want to be no electrical engineer. That sounds too hard. So it's the phobia in my program I dismiss first. And then once you open your mind and get rid of that phobia and this fear factor, now you're open to understanding how simple it is. So sometimes we make things sound so complex. And just like when you talk about Wall Street, the Dow
mm,
Jones, and man, we don't understand that. It's too complex, or we're afraid we don't understand when they say stocks. Sometimes they talk about livestock. Now, when the
mm.
child hear livestock is a chicken, a cow, a pig. Now they're in there. They are acclimated to understand those things. So when you say market, that's a place where you sell your products and goods and services. So if they hear stock market, now they're in the ball game. So they're
Mm.
not tripped up with these big words that people use to confuse people, and it just creates this fear, or we think that is the only way out is to invest in Wall Street, which is a farce because your local community is a Wall Street. There's stocks in your community. Every time you buy something in your community, you purchasing a stock, a product, a service. That's stocks. You see what I'm saying? So now
Right.
once we break it down to that simple micro level, children and even most of us adults will have a better grasp of, how money, entrepreneurship, and STEM work. And that's what we do.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's powerful. That's powerful. You know, um, for a lot of people, one of the big things is cost. You
Right,
know how much, how much something like this is
right,
going to cost. You
right.
know, I know we always say the cost of a miseducation or no education is more expensive than tuition. You know,
Right, right,
uh,
right.
but I know there's got to be some type cost associated with
Sure.
it. What's that?
Okay. Well, preferably this is the way the cost looks. There's We will prepare a STEM in a bag. That's for the individual scholars. And then I have a product called STEM in the box. That's for
Mm,
those grandparents. I want to bring grandparents in because they will be more able to understand my program because it has a lot of old school lessons in it.
okay.
Grandparents, parents, of course, your teachers, your tutors, and administrators. And the reason why I added tutors in because my program is so easy to learn. When a child matriculate through my program at age 12, they are able to teach the kids ages 3 to 5. Now, we talk about each one, teach one. And that's the
Okay.
way my program has a life cycle to it. So not the children not just learning at a certain age, at age 12, you become the tutor and you teach those. So that's what makes my program somewhat different. And so that's one of the main focus that I focus on.
Okay. So is that cost?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Cost. Okay, so for the STEM in the bag, I'm charging $100 for STEM in the box for the instructors, the grandparents, teachers, and administrators. That's $300. But let me explain to your audience what's in that STEM in the bag.
Okay.
Okay, in the STEM in the bag, that is a miniature resource center. So on that resource center, I call it a DMV. In order to maneuver or drive through my program, you have to go through the DMV. That's documentaries that I filmed when I was over in Ghana. There's music that reinforces the concepts, and then I also have videos.
Mm,
So that's the DMV. So within that thumb drive, and also there's a workbook that's on that thumb drive. Now the next level up, as far as it, so what I basically tried to do is allow a child, no matter what type of learner that child is, whether they learn through auditory, through hearing, seeing, touching, and feeling, like us ADHD people, we learn through everything.
right.
And so I wanted to make sure that the child, no matter what type of learning style that they have, they're able to get the information. And so therefore, not only their different learning styles, they learn it through repetition, just like we learn everything. Now the STEM in the box, the instructor has a little bit more working tools. They will have the
Mm,
flashcards, they will have the workbook. Also, they will have a board game that I have a patent on. And this
oh,
board game allow children, adults, teens, preteens, or whomever to learn the concepts while they playing a board game. So it's a very intricate program. Uh, and the first of the month, I will also be doing a STEM TV show. So as the kids watch the show, they will be able to work through their workbook. So everything on
Wow.
the show will re-emphasize what they learned on their DMV in their workbook. So and on the board game. So that's how intricate the program is.
Wow. That's
So
pretty
that's why I have to
intense.
do a workshop. It's just,
Okay. Okay.
because it's
Now,
so
now,
many moving pieces with it.
do you have some workshops scheduled, or is that case by case? Or how does that
That's
work?
right now. That's case by case. Currently, I'm just doing my after school programs at Cornerstone Academy, one location, and Stonecrest. The other location is in Decatur, and then at Result Central. That's going to be more of an after school program as well. But that's when I want to emphasize more on the older children on that program. Also in Columbus, Georgia, I'm teaching the entrepreneurship program in 20 schools here in Columbus, and plus
Oh,
5 schools over in Ghana.
okay.
So
Okay. I
yeah,
was going to ask you about that because and I know I saw some information that you had, and this thing is global. It's
yes, it
global.
is. It is.
Uh, sometimes we here in America, uh, we might not get the light bulb moment.
Right.
We say, man, you know what? Uh, this and that and that and this, but sometimes in other countries,
Sure.
they see the importance, and this is
Absolutely.
why they tend to lead in those fields because they catch them young. They
Hmm.
see the importance of science, technology, engineering, and math. Where
Right.
sometimes over here people see entertainment,
Sure.
sports,
Sure.
things of that nature that
Mm.
might be a catalyst to move them out of where they are.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
now, what are some of the things you're doing over there in Ghana?
Uh, Actually, well, it's a two-phase program.
Okay.
The first phase is that the same program we're doing here in the USA, I'm teaching over in Ghana.
Hmm.
And here's why. I want to, in 2 years, I want the children in the USA in Ghana to do an international competition based on my
Okay.
curriculum and my program. Now, by the way, this program is open up to any nation or any country, any community, any household. But I think we get uh, there's an exchange program that I'm creating as well. So some of the things that the children need to know from the students here about STEM because they lack the resources, our children will be able to provide some of those resources, some of that information to the youth over there. And some of the things, understanding our children can actually see the farm, see the kids working on the land, and understanding that agronomics, farming is how the whole world is revolves around what comes out of the earth. See, our kids don't
Mm.
see that. They living in the projects or on hard pavement, cement. They don't get to see the land. They don't understand that the food that's produced in the marketplace comes from the land or come from a farm. And so those two concepts I try to integrate, whereas they see the positives on this side and we see the positives on that side.
Okay. And and you just uh uh clear some clarity for myself because you can see the marriage between
Sure.
um technology and
Mm.
crops. A lot of times
Absolutely.
people might think it's an end all,
Um,
done all, but you can use technology to improve the
uh,
quality of
you got it.
food and
You
oh
got it.
yeah. Okay, okay.
Every letter in STEM you can use. You can use science, you can use technology, you got to use engineering, and you got to use math.
Okay.
And that's how I integrate the concept of teaching entrepreneurship and STEM simultaneously because you can't have one without the other. Or I don't separate education, you know. And here's a perspective in which I want to show you how I the word try,
O-
TRI. It can be used in science. It can be used in technology. It can be used in engineering, and it can be used in mathematics.
Okay.
So just that 3-letter word, that root word, or STEM word, if our children understand that, if they see science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, they understand try means three. So that's the level in which I try to teach our children on that level. And as they grow in wisdom and in knowledge, I expanded to four-letter words. DECA, all your four-letter words that can be used in science, technology, engineering, and math. So therefore, once they see it on a test when they get older, they got it. You can't
Right.
trick me up in these word games and I'm flunking the test because I don't understand what bioelectrical engineering is, because I don't
Mm.
know the STEM word or the root word for bio. So that's what I do.
Ah, I saw and I was looking. You've got I saw, maybe you could share that with us, but I saw part of your curriculum where you use numbers, letters,
Yes,
and the alphabet.
yes, yes. Good
Uh,
point. Because there's only 10 whole numbers. I don't care how high you're counting, how wide it gets. There's numbers 1 through 9. Better yet, 0 through 9. There's only
okay.
26 alphabets in the English language. So therefore, the numbers you could use to do math, and I use the alphabets as variables. So if I'm want to do algebra, I still use those same 10 numbers and those same 26 alphabets.
Wow.
So that's the way I teach it. So what you saw is the board game, but better yet, one of the board games, or a chessboard game that I invented. And on that chessboard, you have your 26 alphabets, your 10 whole numbers, your 8 geometrical signs, your 8 basic colors, you have your 4 elements of the universe, and you have your 4 algebraic symbols. So that comprise 60. Oh, I'm sorry, and you have your 12 fruits and vegetables on it. So that comprise of a 64 chessboard. So
Wow.
each square, there's a workbook that pertains or the child read in reference to that square. For example, today we're going to learn the letter A. A stands for ergonomics. There is a reading comprehension book that goes with that. There is a worksheet in the workbook that goes with that. There's a video goes with that. And part of the songs that in the music that the kids are learning talks about ergonomics.
Wow.
So that's how complex it is. Those are our working tools to make sure that a child, they say what? If you understand the game of chess, you understand the game of life.
Mm.
But
Well,
my concept, it's a chessboard. If you understand ergonomics, if you understand bank, you understand currency, you understand uh, the 4 elements of the universe. Now you really understand the game of life because you have the
mm,
working tools. We're not just saying, well, you move the king here, the queen. That's cute. But when you understand that you all for the rest of your life, you're always going to see that octagon. Every time you stop at a stop sign, you're going to see that octagon.
okay.
All
I
right.
had a question,
Yeah,
and thanks for everybody in the audience for sharing and asking questions.
sure.
One of the questions was, uh, for its gender. Do you see gender bias, or how do you overcome gender bias when you talk about STEM?
Um, I don't know such thing. I never the curriculum is available to anybody, any person, and I just leave it at that because you know I'm more interested in the educational part of it. As far as creating divides, I don't do that because on that chessboard, matter of fact, is the division symbol. This is how people have ruled over the years, is by dividing us into our own little confines.
Mm.
Actually, that's one of the lessons that I'll be teaching from that worksheet. But when we add and multiply our things together, that's when we add to ourselves and add to our community and understand. So actually, there's a psychology behind those 4 symbols, but that's too heavy right now. I don't want to get
Ah,
into that because
yeah.
that can get really complex.
Oh,
Uh, but that's the value of that chessboard. It's like it's a microchip. that the child learn each piece of that microchip and it's ingrained into their subconscious mind, whereas they will always have that learning foundation.
Mm.
That's yeah, it gets pretty heavy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it gets pretty
I always, so because I was looking at some of the curriculum and certain things, and I said, man, this brother is combining, is kind of like uh hieroglyphics in a way. When you look at Egyptian or Kemet
exactly. It
culture,
have different meanings. That one
right?
symbol.
That's
Exactly.
that's how, because there's a lot of information that's ingrained on those pyramids and different things. They still
Absolutely.
trying to figure them out. But
Absolutely.
when you say four-dimensional, multi-dimensional communication,
Yeah.
we kind of, in a way, especially and then as you look at other languages, but especially here in America with the European culture,
Mhm.
they say this is the simplest language on the planet
Right. Right.
because you just got the ABCs. But
Absolutely.
when you incorporate, your mind is moving
Absolutely.
because A means something other than just A. It can mean one.
Right.
It can
Exactly.
be it can be
Exactly.
in reference to a fruit, like you say, or some part of the solar anything.
Absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
makes you think at a higher level.
Absolutely.
So that's a powerful thing, brother.
Yeah,
Um,
that's you peaked that. I normally
oh,
don't have that
well,
discussion, but since you brought it out, yeah, it's and like I said, there's a 4-tier program to that. The
yeah.
first level is I teach the 26 alphabets. Then the next level I teach the ABCs of agribusiness. Then the next
Mm,
level or that tier I teach the ABCs of industry. Then the next level is agri stocks. So there's a 4-tier program. So on the first level, you deal with two-dimensional shapes and everything. On the next level, for example, if you see the apple on the chessboard, I say, okay, what are the byproducts that you can produce from the apple? Now the
mm,
child mind is just opening up, and that's the theory that George Washington Carver bought. The soybean, how many products did he make from it? He made
mm,
hundreds. And that's the way we got to think in order to think outside the box and create and produce new concepts and ideas. When grandma bought that old peach to the table, she didn't throw it away. Said she preserved it. And the little sugar, a little and that's how we survived. There was nothing. Everything was sustainable. And that's so if we have to teach our children sustainability because everything is created for the most part to recycle itself and be sustainable. And so that's
mm,
part of what I try to get the children to think. And when I tell you those kids can come up with some brilliant ideas you would never imagine.
mm.
So, but you have to open up. You have to get rid of the phobia first. Then
Right.
you have to give them the working tools. Then you give them projects. Then you set them into business, understanding how to expand that concept. So that's what the program does.
Wow. Wow. And as we open our minds, especially our young people. I know sometimes people get frustrated. They say, "Man, young people, uh, they can't learn nothing." Or they go into a classroom. They say, "You know what? They asking too many questions. They too slow. I'm gonna give them some medication to try to
Yeah. Oh,
slow them down. They too
yeah.
this or they too that." But
Man, we
in
can put a
order,
lot of blame on these kids, can't we?
oh yes, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Like we had nothing to do with it, right?
Right. Oh yes, yes. Everybody's blaming the young people,
Yeah.
and maybe, just maybe, they're
Uh-huh.
not stimulating their brains enough.
Exactly.
I've
Right.
had nephews. I remember I had, one of my great nephews. They was about to kick him out of school. He was in
Mm,
the eighth or ninth grade, and
sure.
they say he was distracting the class, all kind of things. But the teacher
Wow.
was not prepared
Absolutely.
to get him. The
Absolutely.
teacher said, well, he finished his assignments. I said,
Oh,
well, what do you have him do when he finishes his assignment? Well, I don't, I give him something to do, and then he started distracting the other kids. And this
that
was,
was me.
yeah, especially
Yeah,
when it comes to young black males,
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of people, they can take a brilliant mind
That's right.
and put that mind in a position where that person wants to say, well, this is not working. I'm gonna go out here where somebody's stimulating my thoughts,
Absolutely.
moving and motivating me,
Absolutely.
encouraging me.
Hmm.
So sometimes in the present day American education system, we lose a lot of
Hmm.
our great minds because
Absolutely.
nobody understands how to tap into it. And it looks like you open some doors uh, and put some systems in place that could, encourage our young people
Yeah,
to want to learn.
yeah.
I look at STEM as part of a plant. That's the STEM,
You
even
got
though they break it down S.T.E.M,
it.
but
Yes,
that's
yes,
the root of
absolutely.
everything. Is it needs to be fertilized, it
Right.
needs to be cultivated.
Yeah.
And the current standard American education system is either training you just to could be a prison or pipeline, pipeline prison type thing,
Mhm.
or it could be a system where it kicks you out and just puts you on the streets. But
Right.
if we took advantage of the opportunity to
Hmm.
train
Hmm.
and rethink how we educate our young people,
Sure.
maybe that future looks bright.
Oh, it's real bright, and I tell you what kind of really changed my perspective, and one reason why I don't buy into a lot of those narratives. I was at
Mm-hmm.
a Shark Tank event probably about 7 years ago in Atlanta,
Mm,
and so once I walked in the room, I was like, "Oh man, I can't believe this." When I tell you 90, it was probably about 400 kids there.
mm-hmm.
95% of them were black.
Okay.
The other 4% was probably Indian or Asian. But you never you if I had to say it, if I walked into a room teaching entrepreneurship, children had to present their project, a Shark Tank, in your mind, you never would have seen that.
Okay.
And so I said, "Oh my God, it's the projections and the narratives that we see our children in terrible positions all day, every day, based on what we see on television. That is
Mm,
the problem. But the reality, it might be 5% out there ugly, acting up. Well, what about the other 95%? That's bad math. If we're going to focus so
mm,
much on bad math, it's us that have the problem. So I focus on that 95%. And even starting at 3 years old, where I know I got a winning chance. I'm about winning. I'm about setting our children up for success. Now we're
mm,
going to lose some. We're going to lose a lot of it. But at the end of the day, we have prepared the harvest. We have prepared the multitude of our children to be successful. And for me, it's simple math. Eventually, the majorities are going to eat up the minority. Ain't that how we learn math? With
yeah.
that
Oh,
little
yeah.
alligator mouth, eats the smallest stuff. So that's the way I look at it. Uh, Reginald, I think this what makes my program a little different, and thank you for the opportunity to explain it. I look at it from a sociological point of view. I don't look
Okay.
at it from a educator's point of view. I look at it like, okay, if this kid got a problem, what can I do? What tool can I give him or her to make sure that they get the concept? That's how
Mm,
I look at it. So if there's I need to increase their interactive activity learning the program. And so that's what makes my program a little different. But I wanted to put inside that STEM in the box, that teaching component, a module that no matter what type of student you have, we have a tool that he or she can use in order to get the concept and understand it.
wow. Wow. And again, looking at the symbols, the alphabets, the numbers, that excites so many parts of the brain.
And you
Uh,
notice they're
you,
different colors also, right?
oh yes, I saw
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. So
I'm
I
gonna
said,
get
this
into
brother,
that too if we have
you know,
time.
you know, well, you know, And I look at it, sometimes if colors make a difference, I didn't realize colors made a difference
Absolutely.
until I studied some
Sure.
colors. Matter of fact,
Exactly.
different colors, orange, and for
Absolutely.
instance, can cause you to have a calm spirit. That's one reason they
Absolutely.
dress
Absolutely.
prisoners up in orange.
Absolutely.
Orange is a very compassionate color.
Uh-huh.
Certain colors, even when I was in the military,
Absolutely.
gray is a color. If I was on a submarine or a boat and you painted the inside red, well, you had a whole lot of problems because
Wow.
the energy level was
That's right.
so
You got it.
up there.
You got it.
Certain colors move and
Absolutely.
motivate people in certain behavior. And when
Absolutely.
you can tap into that, especially as an educator, I had a young lady that was teaching a class and a brother that was teaching a class, and the educational system got on him because his classroom, when they would come in his classroom, is just to sit down
Right. Right.
because of what he had in there. And
Absolutely.
and some of the teachers was like, well, why they going to Mr. So and so's class? They just couldn't deal with the fact
Sure.
that what he did in that room
That's right.
moved and motivated. He had symbols, he
Absolutely.
had things floating around. The science teachers
Absolutely.
would get upset because he
Wow.
had graphs and little
Wow.
pullouts and things like that,
Wow.
stimulating kids, and they just couldn't understand
Sure. Sure.
why these kids would go in his classroom, and be calm, never
Sure.
had a disciplinary problem, but you put them in that classroom where it's just the books and some
Yeah.
colors
Tear the
that
place
are,
over.
oh yeah, they're ready to tear the place up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're running out of time, but I want to do this. Explain to them how the first level of how my program worked, and so
Oh,
they
please
can
do.
get a better idea of why I use the alphabets in order to teach entrepreneurship. And here's what I've done. Okay, the letter A stands for ergonomics. Okay, my definition of ergonomics is anything that comes out of the earth, on the earth, or above the earth that man gives value to. I
Mm.
promise you, that's everything on Wall Street. Gold, diamonds, oil, corn, everything comes out of the earth. Food, everything. Now, I say that. So the earth is the origin of everything that gives life or that we need, or producer. Now, from that level, the next level or module is the letter B. B stands for bank. You have the Bank of a River, right?
Right.
And you have the Wells Fargo Bank. So, but it serves the same purpose. A river bank does not hold the current or the currency. The bank does not hold the current or the currency. It directs it.
Mm.
Okay. All right. Now, after it directs it, the letter D is deposit. That when that water or that current run down the side of that bank, it leaves a soot deposit. Now, when that currency is deposited into your bank on the physical side, we're talking about finances. Okay. Now, based on where we deposit our resources or our materials in our local environment, ecology, or economics.
Mm.
So that's the way money works. So that's why people can why we've been in prison is that people have come to Africa, took everything out of the earth, on the earth, and put it into their bank or the World Bank or the Bank of Europe, the Bank of France, okay? And took that currency and deposited it into their local economy,
Mm.
environment.
Okay.
And that's the way their countries grow and their communities grows, and ours does not. In
Mm.
2 minutes, that's how all currency work. I don't care if it's cryptocurrency, food stamp, cash app, Zelle. At the end of the day, that's how it's gonna work.
I like
And
that.
so once we understand that now, like I said, I try to keep it as bring things down to at least common denominator. It's
Mm.
like, well, you don't understand all finances. I don't need to understand it because I know the origin of it and the end result of it. At the end result, you're gonna buy food, clothing, shelter, transportation, or stuff for healthcare. I don't care what you use for. I don't. So, and that's what I mean, brother drummer, is that we get caught up into this lawlessness of how money works. Man, I got to go to Wall Street. I got to buy stock. Food, at the end of the day, you're going to have to buy food, clothing, shelter, transportation, and buy something for your health care. Those are basic sociological needs. So anything outside of that is just vanity.
Mm. Well, you do such a great job, Brother Calhoun, by taking the phobia. I know we
Yeah,
had some comments in the chat
yeah,
about taking that phobia away, Brother
yeah.
Charles. Uh, you can make TV, for everybody out there. Thanks for sharing in the conversation. Uh, but they make everything complicated.
But yeah,
Uh,
it's too
th-
complicated.
you know, I remember, even when you start thinking about traditional education,
Mhm.
some of the things like chess, which is, making the brain think,
Right,
or a
right.
lot of those type things weren't encouraged because, you know, they didn't want you thinking. And
Right.
what we say over here, thinking ain't illegal, but but if people can control your thinking,
Sure, sure.
they can control your thoughts,
All
the
right.
way you react to things. And
That
then
is
if you can't, yeah, we would listen to your conversation that Charles, but when you can control a person thinking,
right.
meaning that you can create an environment that
That's right.
they don't feel they can contribute, they don't
Mhm.
feel they can get
That's
out
right.
of, they don't
That's
feel, and that's why so many of our young people are
right.
like despondent. They don't want to go to
That's
school.
right.
They don't want to go to class.
Absolutely
The
right.
classroom uh, has almost failed them,
It has.
and yet they're productive out here in the economy, but
All
it's
right.
the wrong way. They might be selling
Absolutely.
drugs, selling their body because they don't see a way out. Somebody caught
Sure,
them
brother.
too early
That's right.
and discouraged them and made them believe that these things are for reach. I'm talking about the stock market. So you
Right.
can't talk about the stock market because it's too complicated for you.
It's
I'm
too
talking
it's
about
way out
business.
there.
Yeah, you can't talk about business. It's because you can work for me in a business, but you can't put things together like me.
Sure.
And they make it so sound so far fetched,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
they create phobias in our
That's
young
right.
people at such an
That's
early age. So I had to ask you, what's your end game?
well, my long range end game is to have a international competition. Uh, it's going to be a STEAM games. It's like a international Olympic games that we're focusing on science, technology, engineering. I'm gonna add arts to it, mathematics, and some of the sporting events. But that's my end game. In about 6 years, I want no better yet 4 years. I want to have that competition in Ghana. Ghana is going to be the focal point of having that competition, international competition based on the curriculum that children have learned, using the STEM in the bag and STEM in the box. Um, the other thing is, like I said, again, we have to be able to put people in place to fill those jobs in science, technology, engineering, and math. So, uh, we're not all about working against corporate. See, corporate has a right. They understand free enterprise. We don't.
Mm,
Now they misuse it. That's the problem.
okay,
It
okay.
works. They misuse it and abuse it. And by that I mean this. And I know I'm talking in circles because there's so many entities, and I kind of want people to get a grasp of the uh, the program and see how it works different. Now, when I teach entrepreneurship, instead of the free enterprise system, I call it a tree enterprise system. And
Mm,
it's pretty much what you said about the STEM. Now, on that tree, you have the manufacturer, okay? Then you have the wholesaler. Then you have the distribution center. Then you have the retail store. And the most important fifth person on that line is the consumer.
mm,
My program is set up how the consumer at the end of the day has all the power. because they can refuse to buy it from the retail center. They can refuse to buy it from the wholesale, the distribution, and the manufacturer. And that's the way you empower the consumer. They have to know that. But with that being said, uh, those are 5 levels. For example, someone said to me, why do you see at McDonald's every time you come off each exit? The McDonald's always buy the property first. Then once they buy the property, they put their retail center on it. Now that retail center has to have a distribution center and a wholesale center to get it to the retail center to sell it to the consumer. Now, for the most part, most of those products are manufactured in China. So in my program, for my S.T.E.M in a box, I might buy the basic products from the manufacturer, but from that point, I wholesale it, I distribute it, I retail it, and I sell it to the consumer. See, and that's empowerment. That's how the program works. And so once the child buy that program or someone purchases that program, now they have the knowledge to recycle that whole concept. So that thought, that money never leaves the what? Never leaves the community.
Wow. Keeps it going. And well, you know what? And you know, you made me think when you threw arts into science, technology, engineering, and math.
Right.
If you stick the A, is STEAM.
Exactly.
S.T.E.M.
Exactly.
And in our community, once you get fired up or some steam starts to happen, my brother, you know what time it is. You know, once we get something and we see, we take the cloudiness off of it,
right,
the stigma that's attached to it. You know, for instance, what was not taught to us becomes something that we can excel in. And all of that is because it's been hidden from us. You know, I was listening to somebody who was talking about, you know, swimmers. They said, well, you know, we don't have a lot of dominating black swimmers. They said, well, you got to look at what was set up. There was not a lot of swimming pools and pools put in a lot of black neighborhoods. So a lot of brothers didn't see a need for swimming. You know, they said, I go out and shoot some ball. But you start putting things, like you say, you catch them at an early age. You start putting science, technology, engineering, the arts, math in communities at an early age, and people, you know, they will outgrow the current facilities because the motivation would be there to excel. You know, the current educational system is flawed. And, you know, not just black and brown people see it, but others see it. That's why you have such a, you know, teachers are feeling frustrated. Their hands are tied. Like I said, that teacher that was in the classroom was ready to teach, and they put too much politics in there. He said, man, I can't even teach.
Absolutely.
You know, they don't want me to teach.
Absolutely. Well, you know, Brother Drummer, that's why I mentioned at the earlier in the show, that's why grandparents will understand my program. Parents will.
Okay.
Because before we went to school, we already had our foundation education.
Wow.
In our community. For example, grandma used to say, the early bird catches the what?
Worm. Yeah.
Okay, I brought you into this world and I what?
Take you out.
When the street light comes on, you what?
Get back home.
Man, look, I don't know you. But I promise you, every African American I can ask that question over age of 50, they would give me the answer like that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we were already educated. We already had our foundation laid. If he don't like you, somebody else will. Man, our people instilled in us before we knew it, all foundation of learning. Before we was age 3, before while we in the womb, we heard that.
Right. Ooh.
So this is how. That's why I say grandparents, parents, teachers, and tutors and administrators, especially grandparents, will understand it because I integrate those concepts into my program. For
Okay.
example, they say a penny saved is a what? Penny what?
Earn.
God doggone. Now, now when you put that to entrepreneurship, if you save 1 penny a day for 16 years, your child would almost have $20,000.
Wow.
And we wonder how grandpa, man, how granddad had all this money. Granddad would put 50 cents, $1 a day
Yeah.
aside for 40 years. And that's how he amassed the wealth.
Mm.
And see, and so that's based on my growing up, I started reflecting on back on my foundation. I said, oh my God, this is how granddad had all that money.
Okay.
They said granddaddy couldn't count, but the granddad knew when he put $1 a day
What did
aside,
it do?
it multiplied.
Wow. Oh,
He
yes,
had,
yes.
yeah, you know when that can filled up, he had some money. How much land he buried it in the backyard. So these are the common sense things that we were taught. Uh, you know, so that's why the program is so important. I'm only going off the base in which I was taught. Our
Okay.
education base was already started. Now we had to go into the school and learn, like our folks used to say, that book learning.
Mm.
See, that was book learning, but our education, we had already had our
Already
foundation
started.
education. Our esteem was high because everybody in the community backed us. Mama
Ooh.
backed us, the preacher, everybody gave us the same message. The preacher said the same thing, the doctor said the same thing, your mama said the same thing. You learn through repetition. So our
Ooh.
self-esteem was there for us. Although we integrated and it kind of tore us down, but yet still those kids were founded. Their self-esteem because their whole community was backing them. And so that's the way my program worked.
Oh.
Whereas your whole community is backing. Our kids need help. Okay, no problem. Here's an entrepreneurship program. They need help in STEM. They need help in take. It's there for them. They see us giving them that firm foundation with the
Ooh.
old school lessons that we've been taught.
Ah. That's
So
the
yeah,
secret.
that's why I need to have to do workshops.
Okay. Okay. Well,
It's really intricate.
Definitely, man, it's a treat and a pleasure. We got to get you back, brother. But
Yeah.
just sending a last message out to our audience, in order to either support you or be a part of what you're doing. What do you have to say?
I would say just invite me out to do a workshop or seminars and purchase a stem in the bag, a stem in the box. That would allow me, I would have to sell 400 stem in the bags to finish building my training facility in West Africa. I would have to sell 175 stem in the box. That would give me the amount of money to finish my project in Ghana, building a international training center to teach this program. That's
Mm.
all. That's not much. And by the way, when you purchase it, every person on the line in our community will benefit from it. That's all they have to do. Just buy those items. And
Oh,
but I want to get this program in as many churches, after school, homeschool, private school, it doesn't matter, community after school programs. That's when people will begin to see the value of what I'm talking about. And for the most part, I can condense and teach all those 26 alphabets of those agronomics to your child in 1 week.
wow.
They would not only know all 26, they will be able to give you all 26 definitions. Just 1 hour a week.
Whoa.
That's, that's the problem.
Well, definitely. Thank you there, brother Calhoun. For everybody out there, you know what we say, what do you do? How are you gonna get ready? How will you be ready for your family, your community? There are basic things that we can do so that we don't have to be the poster children for failure. We don't always have to be the ones that's showing up, not getting it, can't get it done, got two left shoes on, and can't go the right direction. Uh, Anytime there's a situation where it's man-made,
Right.
pandemic, or pandemonium, or whatever, we should not be the ones that are like, I don't know which way to go. I don't know what to do. So that's why we always bring in some key people in to share some things. Yeah, we talking about survival, just in case the world does end. But most of us, the world is not going to end.
Right.
It's going to keep going.
Absolutely.
And that means that you're going to have some tools in place for yourself, your family, and your community. I mean, you can't hope that it's just going to pass you by. You just can't hope that somebody else going to take over. Somebody's coming. Nobody's coming out the sky. No big Santa Claus with a Easter bunny going to give you a wish and straighten your life out. We're going to have to do this ourselves. So every week we got to work on ourselves and put ourselves in a better position. Whether, like I said, whether it's a disaster or whether it's a real life situation that you're going to face tomorrow, and you got to be prepared at all times. If we stay ready, we don't have to get ready. If we prepare ourselves on a regular, consistent basis and do those things that are necessary for the forward movement of ourselves, our families, and our communities, we can make some things happen. I encourage people to check your voting status. Part of survival is making sure that we control the actions and the efforts of our politicians. Okay, these politicians are going to be shaping the direction of us, our families, and our community. So if you're going to play a part in the political process, hold these people accountable. This is a good time, election time, when their jobs are on the line. And when they're elected, you got to follow up and follow through to make sure that they're working in your behalf and on your behalf. Over here, we said we should buy, we should lease, we should own efforts of a politician. If you just voting for somebody because they look like you, feel like you, and you might think they think about you like you, but if they can't do anything to help you, your family, or your community, then it's not going to work for you. So with that being said, do take care. You know what we say over here? The secret of walking on water is just knowing where the rocks are. Once we find the rocks, we can step on anything. We can do anything. We can go anywhere. But until we find that out, and we've been equipped with the most powerful tool on the planet, this mind. This mind. So protect the mind at all times. Fill it with those things that can help energize you and keep you going. With that being said, this is Reginal Drummer, and welcome to another episode of We Are Ready. Continue to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and hit that notification bell over here at the Square Mile Media Atlanta so we can continue these broadcasts and uplift the world. And thank you, Brother Calhoun. A good shout out. Continue the good work, and we'll see you at the top. Or from the top, and we say the view is quite clear for over here. Side by side, my brother. Peace and power. Yes.
Yes, sir.